Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently in the interim stages between two debates, so I'll pass you over to the live panel and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is in there while I set up for the next live show.
The consequence of those ideas, whatever they may be, and the impact of those ideas in how we live and how we work and how we interact and how we live and how we do anything in this world. I mean, we don't walk through that critically. You know, there's a saying that says a life unexamined is not worth living, you know. And if we don't walk through our belief system and understand the impact of that belief system in the world around us and the people we interact with on a daily basis and how we process information, if we don't do that, we're left out in the water, cold and alone, and about could drown at any moment with the waves crashing around us. You know,
I know this might sound crazy, but for me, I reckon it's a hint of Satanism. Do what thou wilt. You know, it's like he has his own definitions, his own terms. You know, he not makes up words, but if you ask him, well, what does this mean? Like Chuck was about to ask him, he thinks he's being tricked because he wants his own version of event. So he's subtly saying, just have your own experiences, do what you want in, so I'm very cautious with that, Paul, from a Christian viewpoint. When
That's not what he says. He says,
he doesn't say that. He doesn't say that.
I'm saying he doesn't say you, he says I.
I what?
Say you should have X experience, you should only trust this, that, and the other. He says I just have an experience.
That's subtleness. So when you're confident about it, I have this, people mirror this eventually. And they, in turn, say, okay, yeah, if it sounds good to them and it resonates, they'll say, yeah. So he's not telling you. Again, it's a very subtle way.
Yeah, but the thing is, Slick didn't coin the phrase experiencing shit. I've said plenty of times on this panel, I experience the world as flat and stationary. But I can move on from there. It doesn't have to stay right there. And I just experience everything all the time. You know, he didn't coin the phrase. I mean, he just says it a whole lot, but he doesn't have the trademark on that or copyright. Like, come on.
Well, and see, here's a problem with there is a problem with just walking around just experiencing. I'm not saying that's not a valid point, but I've said this before on the panel. All experience is subjective, you know. And if I have a mental problem like schizophrenia, there's something going on with the brain where you can't process information, and then people experience aliens and Secret Service agents and all this stuff that's going on in their brain from schizophrenia. But is that experience that they're experiencing true? Or is it valid? Is it objective? No, it's subjective. And I think part of, even having dialogue like we're doing on this panel,
right,
is trying to is making it more than just my experience. That Slick to say it's just reality. Well, how do you define reality? How do you know that something's real? How do you know that anything is true?
That's Paul.
Because my experience can be very subjective.
But that's my point. He's saying, I don't care what you think. I don't care about what he puts it like it's all about me. And if I experience like the spirit, if you try to ask him about the spirit world now, it's like you're trying to trick me. Should I verify it to you, or should I it's like, so people now, should verify? So what should we do? Should people copy this idea? The idea is challenging it. Is what does he want from this? What is he just saying? I'm just telling you my testimony, but then for what? Does it have any value? So again, it's like, what's the reason for the conversation? And then you bounce ideas off other people, and you can't bounce any ideas off him because he won't allow you to, because he won't answer. What does he mean by these definitions?
And I know we're talking about slick, but we're really at the root. We're talking about how do we know something is true? How do we know something is real? How do we know that our experiences are valid? How do we know you have to define things to understand something. So I mean, this is my opinion. You guys can agree or disagree, but I think that's what we're doing. I don't want to feel like we're attacking slick at all, but I think we're trying to figure out how do you process information.
Yeah, because David Dallas said to him, do you learn by your mistakes? That blew up the room again. He didn't want to answer, So David was like, well, if you don't learn by your mistakes or you don't learn anything, this was the point. There's no point in anyone talking to you because you're just telling people. There's no conversation. He talks about conversation. There's no back and forth because he's just making statements, statements, and then questioning your reality, So if he doesn't learn something, because if I'm saying something that's wrong now, you will say, no, that's wrong. I disagree, whatever, or I agree, or whatever, things like that. So.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. No, live. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are joined by Spurs Chemo, Paul, Mac, Lorenzo, Flat and Earth, Chocolate Sane, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Also joined by Mark Doxy.
Yo.
Oh, terrible fight there.
Mark. Great start to the live show. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah.
Do you want to pop yourself on mute, Mark? Thank you very much. How are you all doing? Let's try that again. Good to have you all.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good.
Doing pretty good.
Okay, so Nathan, can I ask you something?
Sure. This has possibly been the worst start to a live show ever, but go ahead.
Oh, does everyone want to say hello? They can say their hellos first.
No, let's move past it. Just definitely. Go ahead, Spurs, please.
All right. So, so Mark Sargent, he had the clues.
What are you doing?
He had the flat Earth clues, and in those clues were the rockets, hitting the dome, or they were hitting something. They were firing rockets up, and up, and they were trying to, what I thought he was saying, trying to breach the dome. Now, you kind of say there is no dome, or you don't know if there's a dome. I don't know. I don't know how you view, because again, the argument is a gas pressure without a container, so we have to be contained. I know we haven't seen the dome, but knowing what we know about the clues, Mark Sargent's clues, and gas pressures, where's the disagreement in the dome?
What's your question?
The dome. You say there's no dome, or you?
I don't know what the sky is. That's my stance. I don't know what the sky is. The assertion that the sky is a vacuum is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Therefore, it's not a vacuum. Outer space is fake. Does that automatically mean I have a bullshit just so story to replace that story? No.
No, but the clues. Remember Mark Sargent's clues showed that they were firing rockets.
Yeah, you're talking about fishbowl. Where's fishbowl narrative come from? Has it come from the people that lied to us about the sphere by any chance?
Not necessarily. No, those guys.
They're different guys, are they? That's interesting. Different guys. What? Different guys. This project fishbowl. That's from different guys, not the guys who lied to us. These are the good guys, right?
No. That's what I'm saying. Not necessarily. I think they were trying to find out what the liars were telling us. See, so they were trying to explore.
Who are they again? These are good guys, you say?
No, there are no good guys in this. I'm just saying, okay, that's fine. I'm not trying to make an argument over it. I was just saying, knowing what we know, especially, with the clues, Operation Fishbowl and gas pressures and container, we have to be contained by something, I would have thought. I don't know. I just wanted your thoughts on it. That was all.
Good morning, Nathan. Can you check my volume? Because I don't think you know I'm on.
I didn't realise you were on 10th man, sorry. You've got a black icon.
Not just yours, Paul's, Lorenzo, Flat Earth Chocolates, Arwin, Matt, on the dome. Is there a dome? Because I know it's a lot of flat earthers moving away from this idea. I'm just wondering why.
Because it's just an idea.
Away from it because I've never seen it.
It depends on.
Yeah, Lorenzo.
But
here's a question.
Your Bible tells you that it's there.
There you go, Spurs.
What did you say?
So are you?
I didn't hear
So
it.
are you saying that your Bible is lying?
Lorenzo was trying to say something.
Yeah, Lorenzo said your Bible says it's there, Spurs.
The Bible.
So for me, I would say it comes down, and I know y'all was just going hard in the paint about beliefs and all this other stuff, but I think it comes down to what you actually believe in. Some people believe in the Bible. Some people don't necessarily believe in the Bible. For me, people that believe in the Bible, the Bible clearly says that there's a firmament, okay? Yet they still don't believe in it. Me, I kind of sort of lean towards what the Bible says, even though I don't fully believe in the Bible 100%, but there is a necessary antecedent for gas pressure, and there must be something containing us. So if there's something containing us, that means that whatever it is, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's above us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that, so I would have to go with what the Bible says, that it's the firmament,
Right.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
If I say scientifically I know what the sky is, I can say absolutely I have no idea. I can infer things like Nathan is saying, but water itself, that's what a bubble in water is, basically gas pressure inside of a container. The container is the water itself. So I know we could get into that a little bit deeper and unpack that. So I don't know what it is, but from a biblical standpoint, if I look at the scripture, there is some kind of physical barrier up there. So okay. I'll leave it at that.
I want to hear what Arwin thinks. Hey, Arwin, what do you think? Because again, you're a flat earther and you understand gas pressures. You saw Mark Sargent's clues. You know about the the fishbowl operation. So is there a dome or is there no dome?
Hard to tell. From the start on, I've pretty much conceptualized that Flat Earth is a divided operation from both inside the intelligence community and outside it, and it's just so difficult to really deal with the real thing that the disk has probably been early on designed as another format and how to deal with a worldwide deception. And they're just moving it to make the transition more easy. I think that was the original plan, and of course everyone just is going their own way, so it's on the long run less relevant. I think that was originally the idea behind it. And is there a dome? Personally, I don't think so. I do think there is a container, however.
That doesn't make any sense.
The nature of that container seems to be...
You're saying it's a container, but no dome. What do you mean? A lid, a roof? It doesn't matter how you describe it. A Van Allen bout. There's a covering, right? A place where rockets cannot go past, right?
Spurs, what's your
Can I say
conclusion
something?
about it?
If
Maybe.
you don't mind.
Spurs, what's your conclusion about it?
Hold on, I just want to hear Arwin.
I go all directions. There's many ways to conceptualize what the nature of the container is. Let's just say it like that, because there has to be one. But it could be a dome that's maybe much bigger than we anticipated, or whatever. Or, in my opinion, it's much more likely to be a flat top in some way. And whether that's resting onto physical pillars or it's like a turned upside down aquarium cage, that could be a thing. Or there is a looping element to it, and there is a top simply sitting there. And that top could be many things. That top could be the bottom of our Earth realm. That top could be a specific type of barrier after which matter simply cannot exist anymore. So literally like the end of the Matrix type of idea, where there's just a barrier, you can't push through it.
My God, somebody shoot me in the face.
Hold on, hey, look, we're talking about presuppositional possibilities and everything. Don't be such a...
No, but I feel, how can we as flat earthers say a container and not speculate on what that container is? We know the bottom. We know what the bottom layer of that container is made of.
But Spurs, we could speculate all day. At the end of the day, it's just speculation.
Right.
We don't know anything from it.
The thing is as well, the container could be massively high, much higher than we anticipate right now. And we would simply never be able to reach it. It all depends on how far the gradient will go and how far it widens. What we can extrapolate from that, how far can we potentially even reach to check out the pressures? There's so much more left to be explored.
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you at least.
Yeah, I brought this up. Excuse me. I brought this up yesterday. It's interesting that the rockets do not go straight up, as we see from all the NASA and other launches. They go up and then they go horizontal until they disappear. And the narrative from a certain side is that they're being dumped in the ocean. Then we've got what we believe, which is you can't have gas pressure without a container. So, not saying it proves anything, but why are they going sideways and not all the way up, like they said, into so-called space? So that's just one thing to think about right there. And then I brought up the rainbow shape.
Okay, before you go on to the rainbow, right, number one, the necessary antecedent for gas pressure, that's not a belief. That's definitely the antecedent required to have gas pressure. So I don't believe in the needing to be that antecedent. It's an antecedent. So that's the first thing. The second thing. I'm not arguing that at all. Sure. Just second thing. So with regards to the rockets, so would these by any chance be the same rockets that Spurs has just claimed prove a dome? Were they launched by the same good guys?
I didn't try to make that connection.
Using all the available. Are we talking government-funded rocketry and what it does and doesn't prove? In this case, presumably, doesn't prove space, they go sideways. In Spurs' case, does prove dome, they've hit it, right?
I understand what you're saying, and I'm with you on it. What I'm saying is, if there's a crime, you get all the evidence and you lay it on the table and you look at all the evidence. That's all I'm doing. I'm not saying it means anything yet. We're just looking at things.
Okay. Sure. It's Stockholm.
So I just see it.
You're going to take offence to this, 10th man. I just see it as Stockholm syndrome. That's all I see this as. So this person has been, let's call him a person, the entity that is NASA, if you like, just so it's a specific individual body. That individual has lied to you. There is no doubt about it. From that point on, sever all ties with that lying sack of garbage and never go back. whereas looking at what they do in retrospect for truth or lies is fruitless, in my opinion.
You have no idea how much I'm just resonating with you here. I'm totally that way. However, when I see video of astronauts on cables on the ISS, I am using their own video feed to show that they're still lying.
Yeah, I get that. A hostile witness.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying they are lying. I don't trust them at all. And they still are lying, and we're catching them. So why can't I point out more lies from them?
I'm not saying you can't, but for some people who I see...
that's where I was going. That's all.
Sure. And in isolation, it's fine. The reason I'm using you is this example, and it's a bit unfair on you, but it's because there's a lot of people out there that will eternally debunk NASA. And it's like, once you know they're lying, it's kind of... My opinion is to turn your back on a liar and just never engage with them again. So it's kind of...
But when they turn around and I got to tell you what happened last night at the party. But when they turn around and lie to your best friend, how do you inform your best friend that he's been lied to?
That's a tough question, because in most instances, if you answer
yeah,
them,
you show. So anyway, let me segue to the party last night. We had a party, and I'm sitting down. It was actually a celebration of a life of a friend of mine. His father passed away, and the whole day was spent in remembrance, and so now just the intimate families together. And someone looked at me and said, "Oh, are you the guy that believes the Earth is flat?" I just looked at and I said, "No, I know the Earth is flat." And that, the way I said it, and the way the eyes changed, the pupils of the eyes changed to the person I was talking to, allowed me to segue into things that we discuss on this channel, like this water curve, all the different, things that we share with people. Can you have gas pressure without a container? And I said, do you know quantum physics? Do you know this? And all of a sudden they're saying, whoa, where are you getting all this stuff? You seem learned, and you seem to know how to defend your position. I mean, without saying it, though, because it was just bang, 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 but very nicely from me on them, because you could easily overwhelm someone with all the stuff that we have learned following this channel and other channels. And so the final result of the talk was this: you bring up interesting points. I'm going to look into this. I've never seen it this way. And this is what the effect we're having on people. It's wonderful.
I don't disagree. It's my attitude towards it is different, because just before coming to Flat Earth, the subject I was looking into was psychopathy, and the general consensus amongst people who were covering the subject was, once you figured out that you're dealing with a psychopath, or in this instance a psychopathic entity, then you have no contact ever again with that. So for me, it's like, yeah, okay, initially I did a couple of videos on NASA, and once I'd proved it to myself, I was like, right, I don't want to engage with that anymore. I don't subscribe to Science at NASA on YouTube anymore. I don't watch the Discovery Channel anymore. I don't engage with that psychopath anymore, because all they're going to do is lie to me.
But that psychopath is lying to my friends and family, and I need to warn them.
Okay, well, same principle applies in psychopathy. So there's a certain aspect of psychopathy that's detailed called triangulation. And the idea is as follows. Your best friend is friends with your ex-wife, who is a psychopath. Now, that psychopath has a means of getting to you by virtue of triangulation. They poison the well of your best friend whilst talking about you, and you're in contact with your best friend. She plugs him for information about you, and he tells her, and so on and so forth. It means that there is a contact point. So given that that was what I was researching prior to Flat Earth, it seemed logical to cut all ties whatsoever in the same vein. Now you're saying, well, because they're poisoning my friend, what I was going to say earlier was that's a very difficult choice to make, because as you well know, will you be thanked for this information, learned one, or will you be potentially ridiculed and lose that friend?
It's worth the risk, because you care and love your friends.
I would agree, and I've not lost any friends over this, so I'm very, very lucky. But Others haven't. I've heard the stories.
Yeah, yes, but I'd rather lose a friend when I'm fighting for their independence and freedom than to know that I'm holding back and lying and watching them be enslaved.
I agree. I'm playing devil's advocate because I take your stance. I tell them immediately. In fact, I get a kick out of it in some instances.
No, this was a good back and forth. This was good. I like it.
Yeah, 10th man, I'm with you on that. I don't care. I'll tell them I don't care
I mean,
about
I've got
crazy looks.
people.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'll say it after you're done. You were reading books?
No, I was just gonna say I don't care. Like at this point, like people.
Hello?
Obviously, people can believe what they want to believe. That's allowed, you know. But having the conversation is great, and giving people, you know, new information because a lot of people haven't thought about this stuff. And I've gotten looks from people where they're like, "Wow," like, you know. Obviously, I've gotten the looks of, "Oh, that's just crazy," you know. But
Well, you're right. You're right. I have people who won't talk to me at events because they know they don't want to broach the subject. When I first brought it up, and again, in a not a demanding way, just saying, "Hey, have you ever thought of this?" You know, and then all of a sudden, the resistance, the cognitive dissonance, and then next thing I know, we can be at a place or on a conversation and they avoid it. You can tell they're avoiding it because they don't really want to broach it. So you respect that. You don't go there if they don't want to go there because you can be talking to an unbeliever even though he's your friend. It's just a brick wall. So what's interesting is that people have known me for all the years who have commented on attributes that always seem to have made, like you're really this, you're really that, all of a sudden forgot all that because of this one subject. Now, this reminds me.
Exactly, yes.
This reminds me of that. I may get it wrong, but I think it was Plato and the cave story about the people in the cave, and they were facing a wall, and on the wall the shadows were being cast from behind where there was a fire lit and people were walking, and they never saw the real people. They just saw these shadows on the wall. So they grew up all their life. Now, of course, it's a made up story, but there's a point. And so they associated language and objects to these shadows. So their reality, as far as they knew, were that these shadows on the wall was it. Well, then one day, one of these individuals was let loose to go back and see that there was a fire and there was, humanity and all kinds of artifacts, all this kind of stuff. And then he wanted to go back and tell the other 9 who were in the cave who just believed this reality of shadows rather than the true reality, which is, hey, these objects are casting the shadows. The shadows are nothing. The objects is the substance. So the story ends like this. He goes back and he wants to say, hey, guys, guess what I found out? These shadows aren't this, they're this, they're this. And the whole story says if they could, they would kill him for changing their reality.
Where did you hear that? I've heard the story before.
Just an allegory.
Yeah, it's an allegory. I think Plato did it.
Allegory of the cave, if you want to search it on Google.
It's so reminiscent of what happens here, though.
Talking about Slick Willie?
No, I'm talking about everyone that I talk to who gets cognitive dissonance immediately because of the programming. And I just have to wonder why it didn't happen to me. When I first saw it, it was like, wow.
Were you a conspiracy theorist before this?
Not really, but I'm so open to things because my base that I run off is all truth is from God, and God is truth. So I'm after truth. I'm not worried about changing who I am or what I believe about God, because God's not going to lie to me. So truth leads to God. So I'm not afraid.
What theology do you subscribe to?
Well, I'm a Christian. I said on the first show I'm a Christian, but I'm on this station because it's secular, and I want to use the rules of logic and the law of non-contradiction to prove the flat Earth. because people do violate the law of non-contradiction all day long.
You can't
It's
prove
so
the flat Earth,
illogical.
though. I mean, even the people of this channel, Quantum Eraser and Nathan Oakley, say that you can't prove the shape of the Earth, so you can't prove it.
I'm not trying to.
Not scientifically, no.
No, when I say prove, like Arvin, thank you. We know that there's a scientific method which is empirical. Okay, I'm not trying to do it that way because I can't manipulate the independent variable. I can't go into space and vary Mars, let's say, or a star or whatever. I can't do it to the Earth either, so I can't approach it that way. So I have to do it evidentiary. I have to do it through my senses, and then have to compile all the evidence of how water behaves on a flat surface versus on a ball. And so then all of this will point to a flat, stationary, motionless Earth. And then I go to the helium balloons. When they go up, the horizon rises to the middle of the camera, the eye level.
It doesn't, though. I mean, it really doesn't. We've been saying this for years.
Well, it does because I see it. So you have to tell me why it doesn't when I see it.
It doesn't, though. I mean, if you go on a plane and you take a theodolite app, it's clearly not rising to eye level.
No, I go on a plane and it rises to my eye level.
Do you take any instruments, or are you just using your eyes?
My eyes are my instruments.
Okay, well, that's your problem.
Oh, my eyes are my problem?
Yeah, using your eyes and thinking that they're the end-all, be-all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So then this gyro that Bob used on Globebusters, it was the instrument that said the Earth was moving, right?
Bob didn't use the gyro. It was Seventh-Day True Seeker. And the fiber optic gyro does prove not only a sphere, but also spin, yeah.
Oh, that's
Wait,
interesting.
so we can't use the eyes to judge eye level now? That's what we're
No.
You
doing?
can, but it's much better to use instruments like a
Well, if I
theodolite.
look out a plane window and I see the horizon and I can see with my eyes and it's level, that's not eye level? Like it's risen. Like it should drop away, Tim. I think you should know that by now, bro.
It does, though. I mean, even
Hey,
all my
Tim.
drone videos, you can see it drop away. So.
Show me the curve.
Hey, Tim.
Show me the curve. That's one of our
Hang on a second.
housekeeping questions.
Hang on.
But Tim,
Hang on,
the
Tim.
horizon
Yes, ma'am.
looks the same place when I'm at 10,000 feet as it does when I'm at 35,000 feet. Where is the
I
drop?
already told you guys, if you want to use your eyes, that's one thing. But if you want to use like a theodolite or something like that, that's another thing. I've already done theodolites and auto levels and all that stuff. So, I mean, whatever.
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Were you on a commercial plane?
Was I? I am a lot, yeah.
Okay, were you using all this on a commercial airline?
Yes.
Okay, is the plane you were on, do they have two window panes?
There's way more than two window planes in a plane. I don't know what you mean.
Window, like when you look through the window, there's usually
I think he
two.
means the glass, because there's usually double glass,
two.
or some of them triple glass, something.
Right. Did your planes have those on them?
No, it was one of those special planes that are very dangerous that don't have, safety measures.
Oh, I'm actually honestly asking you. You could be sarcastic if you want, but I'm honestly asking.
I think it's a rhetorical question because all commercial planes are going to do that, right?
Okay. When you were using your theodolite, did you account for the refractive index of those two window planes?
Did you guys count when you're looking with your eyes? Did you guys count with the refractive index? Two people can play this game.
I've not made that claim. I'm not. So that's somebody else's claim. I didn't. I'm asking you.
How about I don't even care about your refraction. I looked out the window. I saw the horizon. There it is, right in front of my face at eye level.
Right, but they got to
Completely
tell
risen
you.
with
They
me.
got to tell you it's not there because they want to control the narrative with a theolite. I have
They
to
can
use
say
that
whatever
for
they want to say with their theodolite.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, nobody really cares that flat earthers believe the Earth is flat. It doesn't
Apparently
matter.
you do, because you're here, buddy. Apparently you do.
No, I'm just here to talk to you guys and be a glober on the panel because there's never any globers here.
So why aren't you
Welcome.
why aren't you just somewhere else to talk to some other people? Why flat earthers?
This Jose's panel
Just
is full,
talking
guys.
to flat earthers, particularly flat earthers, not regular people.
I've been talking to you guys for a long time. I mean, I already know the game here. I understand that, no matter what I say, no matter what I show, you guys aren't going to change your mind, and nor should I change your mind. It doesn't matter if it makes you a better person, just like religion. Go ahead. It doesn't matter. I personally know it's never going to go anywhere because it's just not true.
Because you know truth.
Well, it's
Like
been four
no
and a half
other.
years, over 4.5 years, man. I mean, we have 50 different excuses now. It was 38 the other day. We have 50 now, and it's just like we say curve, and you guys say a bunch of other stuff. So I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, we don't
And
exclude
why do they
optics,
have to
that's
be
right.
excuses?
We don't
though?
exclude
Why
optics.
One at a
why do
time.
they have to be excuses? Why can't they just be reasons that things are disappearing in the atmosphere? I don't understand
It
why
could be
it has to
reasons,
be
but
an
there's no way to
excuse.
quantify
The
it.
only reason you call it an excuse is because the only thing you want to hear is curvature.
No, it's
But
because
it's a
there's
reason.
50 of them now, dude. It's been 4.5
If I'm
years.
looking,
Man.
if I'm looking 10 miles away and there's fog in front of me, that's the reason that I can't see 10 miles away. It's not because of curvature. It's just fog.
Yeah,
It's
I would
very
agree.
simple.
Sure.
Right. So why is it that has to be an excuse? Why can't it just be one of the things that happens in the atmosphere that obscures vision?
If it's a legitimate reason, just like you just said, fog, you can't see something because of fog, sure, I'll go with that. But when we have multiple excuses, then you can take any,
But see, you
5
went
of
right
them or
back to
4 of them.
using excuses, though. Why? I don't
Hold on a
understand.
second,
It
Chocolate.
could be.
Where's fog in the curve calculator? Does fog ever get
What's that?
asserted as a reason why we can't see something? Or is it just Earth curve in the Earth curve calculator, Tim?
Earth curve calculator is strictly geometric unless you're looking at the atmospheric part of it as well.
Well, we're looking at it in a photograph. That would include atmospherics, would it not, Tim?
Absolutely.
So, I'll ask again. Why isn't it in the calculator then?
Atmospherics are.
Sorry, do you want to show me in the curve calculator where atmospherics are accounted for?
You've been talking about it for, what, a year and a half now, the 76R?
That's called terrestrial refraction. That's a number. That's not a weather condition.
And? It's in
So,
the calculator.
I'll say it again because you didn't hear me. That's not a weather condition.
If you start, Nathan,
That's
I'll just hit end. Okay?
Sorry, Tim,
Talk to
is
me
this
like
where
a
you just
human
talk all
being, or
over
I'll
me
leave.
because I'm shitting on your argument, or are you going to let me
Okay,
repeat
later.
it? Oh, that's because I've taken a dump on his argument. The first hurdle he's failed. As soon as I pipe up,
Bravo.
Tim gets absolutely obliterated. So, atmospheric conditions are absolutely not accounted for in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Only an arbitrary 7/6R. That's called terrestrial refraction. Nothing to do with atmospheric conditions. It's a number and a begging the question R value. Bye, Tim. Yeah, you got your ass handed to you pretty quick that time.
Alright, cool.
No atmospherics accounted for in their calculator. Just a number and a begging the question fallacy. 7/6 and the presumption of R. Not atmospheric conditions. No perspective either, Tim. We would have got to that if you hadn't run away so quickly, but clearly terrified of me.
Good day, boys. I'm glad he went away so I can join.
Hey, that was great, Nathan. You were so patient, waiting for your band of merry men to take him down, and finally you came in and gave him the strike, the blow.
Yeah, these guys have only got one claim to make, Earth curve, and as soon as you get to the point that you point out, well, you've just conceded something else can obscure your view of something. Where is it in the calculator? It's not there. And there's a whole list, as Tim's pointed out. I've suggested Ranty and I put together a list of all the things ignored in the calculator when they assert only Earth curve obscures your view. Because that's the only thing that the calculator can ever assert. There's only one cause. So while Tim likes to give off a nice big list, what is it today? Circle of confusion, Rayleigh criterion, dirty air? Yeah, all of those things can cause things to be invisible, disappear, and they are all ignored. So we're going to start listing them off too, Tim. What else is it today that they're going to ignore and call Earth curvature? Yeah? You're going to call the diffraction limit curvature today, Tim? You're going to call the dirty air and fog curvature today, Tim? What else are you going to call Earth curvature? Is everything Earth curvature? Because it seems to me that fog is Earth curvature. The diffraction limit is Earth curvature. Perspective is Earth curvature. Everything that can cause things to disappear in the distance is Earth curve if you're a fundy who believes you live on a sphere because you've only got one thing to assert. Oh, that's disappeared because of Earth curve. there's only ever one cause.
There is no sight, only
But
curvature.
that's why I was questioning his use of the word excuse, because why does it have to be an excuse? If I can't see something in front of me because of fog, that's the reason that I can't see it. It's not an excuse, but you want to use the word excuse to make it look like we're just making stuff up. When I can clearly turn on my television, watch the weatherman, and tell me how I'm not going to be able to see anything with low visibility. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah,
Yeah,
check
but
out.
did you see? Did you
Check
see
out.
how easy? Did you hear how easy he gave up his natural senses, his beautiful brain, his two eyes for instruments?
Of
Yeah,
course.
but then when I asked him if it's just fog in front of me, he said, "Yeah, I'll accept that if it's fog." All right, so that's what we're saying. Where do you get the curvature from after that? That's the problem.
Yeah, the calculator can only say one
the thing I'm
cause.
saying-
It's only ever curvature in the Earth curve calculator. It doesn't matter if it's a foggy day. If you can't see something, it's Earth curve. It doesn't matter if something's too far to see it. It's Earth curve.
It's a fantasy calculator. It can't perform viewing functions, so the only thing it basically does is presume how there should be curvature obstructing when you presuppose the Earth is a curved ball.
Yeah.
That's all it really does.
And
it doesn't actually tell you what you're going to be seeing. 'cause
well, it tells you that you'll be seeing the side of your own head mathematically and the target at equal distances. So there's no accounting for the thing getting smaller with distance. It's the same size if it's right in front of you and your own head that you can see the side of. And if it's a million miles away, it remains the same feet and inches value. In essence, if you want to know how the calculator for Earth curve swindles you, it's this. They use feet and inches for the target. Well, a target reduces its angular size with distance. So if you can substitute angular size, apparent size, angular size, for actual size, then you can maintain the actual size at any distance and then assert that it's disappeared to Earth curve when in fact it's just got too small to see. So in essence, Earth curve is just perspective. They just call perspective Earth curve. Now there's a whole lot of other things that we can also list. Go to Tim Osman's channel if you want to list all the things that they just call Earth curve. Because they can only call it one thing, Earth curve. It's the only assertion made. So it doesn't matter if it's a foggy day. It doesn't matter if the thing's too small into the distance. It doesn't matter if you observe linear perspective. You will ignore it and call it Earth curve.
What's great?
Curvature is like a witch. Anytime there is any kind of obstructure, it must be curvature. It's curvature. It's curvature.
Well, what's great is they used to tell us, "Hey, that ship disappeared. That's the Earth curve." Now we broke that down, and now we can prove that ships aren't disappearing due to Earth curve. So now they're saying, "Well, you got to have this special instrument. Now your eyes won't see it, so just trust the special instrument."
What he's saying is, when you go up in a plane, in the same way as the visibility given any day is very, very changeable, it's variable. Some days you can see a long way because it's nice and clear. Some days you can't because you've got fog and you can see a meter in front of you. So it's hugely variable from almost nothing to potentially 100 miles. Well, when you rise in altitude and get above the crap that we have at the ground level, you can see even further. But the same rule of thumb applies. The day is variable in terms of how far you can see. And how far you can see dictates how high that horizon line will be. So the horizon, depending on how far you can see, will raise and lower. And they claim that effect, well, guess what? That's Earth curve. It's dropping. It's the only assertion that can be made. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Oh. Good.
Chris, tell us about your video. I've heard so many people telling me I should be watching it and I haven't. So can you tell me what's occurring?
Well, it might turn out that Jose's hangout is better than we thought because we can get these ballers on there and even 8 verse 2, 7 verse 3 bald flat. I mean, we're just really handing them their own ass. And so the other day was a Monday. I was on and talking and Rumpus was giving a presentation, and in his presentation, which by the way, this is like a 150-page document according to him. He had some pictures that Soundly took of around the Lake Pontchartrain area, and apparently the pictures were taken from the same height and from the same distance. And what I noticed is that in one image, in the top image, it was like squashed, completely compressed, and you could see maybe, call it 3 floors, if that. And the bottom image was maybe 20 floors, 18 floors, I don't know exactly. And I was questioning him on how that's possible. And he said, well, it's refraction. And I said, okay, so basically, and there's more to it, but the long story short is I said, so basically what these images are showing is that refraction alone, because it's, again, same height, same distance, so refraction alone can shrink or cover up to, I said 70 to 80% of the building. And he said, correct. And then it gets funny because he goes on to stumble and he misspeaks. So that's basically
refraction alone can cause something to disappear, not just curvature from Rumpus's mouth. That's what you're saying?
That's right.
Copy
it's all
that.
on video, and I posted it, and the only response from the ballers I got was that I took him out of context, and I'm like, well, I just played his own voice from a recording, so I don't know how I took him out of context.
Yeah, slowly but surely, I'm hoping that more and more people will recognise that the single assertion of Earth curve is totally insufficient at describing a photograph when there are multiple causes of things disappearing in the distance, namely perspective, the main thing they've hijacked. But as you have these things detailed and listed, and they concede any other cause other than Earth curve, they immediately screw themselves. They immediately are in a position where they've validated the argument that the calculator is not accounting for viewing functionality, something that Rumpus, the only one who's technically got the argument correct, will concede. Oh yes, it's not comparable to pictures, it's not performing viewing functionality, we're just comparing it to viewing functionality with our whole numbers, feet and inches or meters that don't change with distance, and then saying that that effect is Earth curve. But they've got all of the rhetoric laid out until they concede another cause of something disappearing. Doesn't matter if it's fog, doesn't matter if it's angular size, it makes absolutely no difference because none of them are accounted for. There's a whole list of them on Tim Osman's channel, all the things that get called Earth curve.
Isn't that them kind of playing themselves, like putting that list out there like, ooh, this is some big joke. Oh, look at all the things that flat earthers came up with to explain why things disappear in the horizon. But yeah, what you're doing is giving everybody what, like, basically the cliff notes of what we're talking about, what we've been talking about. Yes, these are all the reasons things disappear. It's not just your Earth curve.
Yeah, but that's what Tim Osman was stupidly hoping for, that he could juxtapose a whole list of things versus his single solitary cause that's asserted, and that would be a win. Because isn't it stupid that they've got multiple causes of things disappearing in the distance? My God, what retards. They should know it's only ever Earth curve that causes things to disappear. And well, no, Tim. Yeah, the angular size resolution, that can cause things to disappear. You can calculate it in the Rayleigh criterion. It's absolutely real based on the aperture. Something that you'll be using to take the picture you compare and call Earth curve. Yeah, that's real. Not accounted for in your calculator, completely ignored, in fact hijacked and called Earth curve, because every one of those things on that list you've got, Tim, all of them get called Earth curve, don't they now? Doesn't matter what the excuse is, as you call it. Oh, your excuse today is the diffraction limit. No, my friend, you must assert the single solitary cause that I fundamentalistly believe in. Fundamentalistically? That's not a word. My fundamentalist belief is Earth curve, so you've got to blame that, and only that, because that's the only cause ever. Things never get too small to see. You should see New York from England if you're on a flat plane. Well, isn't it too small to see? Isn't it in that reduced angle that's calculable in the Rayleigh criterion? No. What's that you say? It's Earth curve, Tim, that's caused that? Oh, right. Nah, my friend. Things definitely get too small to see, you perspective-denying retard.
There is no viewing function, only curvature.
There is only geometry. We can always see things no matter how far, because perspective is not perspective. Earth curve only.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Yeah, exactly. There is no viewing function, only curvature.
What's caused it to disappear today? Well, we've moved 10 miles away and it's too small. No, you fools, it's Earth curve. What's caused it to disappear today? Well, it's a foggy day and the visibility's reduced. No, you fool, Earth curve.
Yeah, so one of the things I noticed in talking, Rumpus talking, before I even asked him that question, is he admitted, or I guess I had asked him previously if something like an inferior mirage can block from the bottom up, because people like Brenda Von Arson or whatever her name is claim that it can't. And so I got Rumpus to admit that, and so I thought, oh wow, he's admitting that. But what he would then go on to say is, yes, but that doesn't account for all of the missing portion. So he'll post this picture of these wind turbines that actually isn't Ranty's. I think he says it's Alkay's, and he's got all these graphics on it to compare the sizes and all. So basically the point is I've gotten him to admit that refraction alone can cover 70 to 80%, but then he goes on to say, oh, but that doesn't account for all of it. But then I'm like, well, yeah, but then you have angle of incidence that we talk about, then you have perspective, etc. So I'm only bringing up the refraction because he was talking about that, and he was basically admitting that on his own. But then I got him to admit it could hide or cover or shrink 70 to 80% of the building, which is a massive amount. Think about it. They're always like, well, where's that bottom half? Well, according to Rumpus, it's hidden behind a layer of refraction.
Looming?
Oh, Looming. Sorry. Sorry, you guys are going to have to go to the live stream to see what I'm about to talk about. So this has been shared with me by Ranty Flat Earth. Check out Ranty Flat Earth channel. He is ace. But he's basically explained pretty much what we're describing now. So on the left, you've got the way they present our vision, which is Muppet vision. You get to see the side of your own head depicted here by an eyeball. And you're looking out at the distance of whatever at a target, which in their Muppet mathematics will absolutely be described in feet and inches or meters, because then it doesn't matter whether this distance here is 30 centimeters or 30 miles. In other words, it makes no difference to the feet and inches value of the target. It will always remain the same. So even if it's here, filling the entire frame of the camera, it's going to be given the same feet and inches value as if it's 50 million miles away and cannot be seen because it's too small. But ultimately speaking, we're in this grey area where we have the bottom of things disappearing. And as you look out in Muppet vision, this isn't how we see. We don't see the side of our own head. But when depicted this way, like the curve maths use, then we have a limited angle to the bottom section of something in the distance. It is in the most limited angle, calculable by the Rayleigh criterion. And beyond the diffraction limit, it cannot be seen. This is absolutely a cause of things disappearing in the distance. Angular resolution, described by Rumpus as f-stop, another cause not accounted for in the curve calculation. Apparently, according to Rumpus, f-stop values can make things disappear. The resolution can make things disappear. Well, yes, the angular resolution limit is calculable based on the aperture. The f-stop is a measure of aperture. And ultimately speaking, this diffraction limit would cause the bottom section of this building to be in that limited angle, where it is too small to see. And therefore, what is in the near foreground will still be resolvable, and you will see to approximately this point your horizon line where they claim the curve is, because you have a limited angle to the target. The Earth is obviously flat, but they would ignore all aspects of this angular relationship between you and the target and simply assert that the Earth has curved beneath you, and the only reason that this bottom section of this building is missing is because the Earth curve has obscured your view, depicted in side elevation. The Earth does not obscure your view. The Earth curve is not a single cause of things disappearing in the distance. Angular resolution, perspective, is the reason. And this is entirely hijacked by the curve maths, by removing you from your actual observation, putting you inside elevation, and most importantly, maintaining actual size. So using feet and inches for the target, which do not change at any distance. Whereas the angular size, the apparent size, the size you see when you actually look from this position rather than depict it in side view, will get smaller with distance until it eventually reaches the diffraction limit and disappears from view entirely. Not Earth curve, perspective.
Well said. Hey, can I say something real quick? Change the topic.
Yeah.
Real quick before you do, I'm sorry, Anna, but did anybody hear Lumpus say that nonsense again? That essentially you'd be able to see your own ass.
Yeah, that was on
I think
Ranty's re-up. So Ranty did a re-up of his little stint with Rumpus, and he basically, they've already given us that rhetoric, which is to say that where the calculation fails, they will claim that refraction can bandage up any problem to the point where if you had a clear enough day, you could see around the entire presupposed spherical Earth and see your own arse in a telescope if it was big enough telescope and had a wide enough zoom. The reality of that explanation is that nothing can see that far, because there's a diffraction limit. The diffraction limit is what stops you from seeing for eternity. But in that example of seeing your own arse, it implies there is no diffraction limit and you can see forever. With their bendy light that lets you see forever on their sphere because they've ignored perspective and called it Earth curve.
Right, like just the fact that he said it the first time was, like last year or sometime, that was crazy enough. But then he said it again yesterday. I was like, I don't believe he's really saying that. It's like, this can't be what these guys really think is going on in the world.
No, that's their rhetoric and double speak. That is their explanation or justification for the being able to see forever. So you can't see forever, there's a diffraction limit. But if you can ignore that and put it into a piece of rhetoric, which is, well, you could see your own arse in a telescope with enough refraction. Well, no, you couldn't. But with a big enough aperture, you could see a lot further. The diffraction limit is decreased as you increase your aperture. So you can see further. You can resolve more.
And just to round out the point before, I don't know who was saying he wanted to change the topic. The way that Rumpus is explaining how we're seeing these things too far. So by the way, I don't know if you heard yesterday or if you've already mentioned it, he admitted that the only reason you could see Ranty's panda boat from that distance is because it loomed up. So what he's doing to explain seeing things too far is either looming or now what he's calling super looming. So he's going to apparently explain Anthony Riley's, I guess it's an Isle of Man 24-mile observation, shore to shore kind of a thing. And he's already saying it's called super looming. Now, if you Google super looming, guess what? No such thing.
Yeah, but that is, again, it doesn't matter what terminology he gives it. It is still part of the standard rhetoric, right? What we are seeing here is a mirage. In other words, you can see the Chicago skyline, it's in perfect proportion, and there it is. But is it real? Well, no, it's just not real. That's how far they'll take their own bullshit. Getting rumpus by Eleanor.
Feel your pain, Nathan. I feel your pain.
All right.
Yes, Anand, you can bring up your topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want you to think about this. We have satellites, yeah? They say 8,000 of them. They do all kinds of things. Some of them are important, I guess, like military use, whatnot. Some of them are stupid, like radio. Like, okay, it's not essential, it's radio. You have all kinds of satellites do non-essential tasks. Okay, so we have satellites. That's what they say. Yet, airplanes. I saw this, by the way, yesterday on Reddit. Airplanes, their black box is local on the machine and on the plane. And what does a black box do? It records voice and telemetry data of where the plane is, how far it is, what kind of movement it's having. All the stuff is recorded. So when it crashes, they go in and try to find this thing. But if they have satellites, why can't they just send this data to the quote unquote cloud? So when the thing crashes, they don't have to go in the middle of the ocean looking for a black box. It's like, why would you store your data that you need to get locally in the machine, and then you have to go through like wreckage and like try to find something to see, hopefully it's intact. Or you could just send this data over continuously over to some data center maintained by FAA or the airlines. And then when the thing crashes, you can just, log into a server and figure out what happened. Why would you store this thing locally on the fucking aircraft? This doesn't make any sense.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley channel, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. However, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to all of you who did tune in live, for hopefully liking, smashing the super chat, sharing, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff, while I get rumpus by my own kid. If you'd like to keep yourself occupied after this live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
No, you
Well, I
bring
mean,
up a
there's
good
a lot.
point.
I mean,
You bring up a good point.
no,
because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
my phone's ringing. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you
so-
bring up a good point because they actually do all that when they're tracking us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google, but they don't do it on the planes. So they have the
That's
technology.
my point. That's my point. Well, on Google and Facebook, you use regular landlines. You use regular, cables. You know, you have Wi-Fi at home, but eventually everything goes under fiber optics. But if there is continuous satellite coverage, then there's no reason why aircrafts can't send their data over to the cloud, quote unquote, so they don't have to go searching through the record. It's just so stupid.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Ranty.
Well, but
Hiya.
actually, you're proving a point that they don't have that. They have to do it the way they do it with cables. They don't have the satellites. That's a good
That's
point.
my point. That's
Yes,
my
I
point.
know.
Like, they're again. I want you to think about this hard. They are storing the stuff local. It's like this is like any data center. You don't your syslog server, your server that collects all the logs is not the machine, because if the machine crashes, then you're not gonna have it. So you send the log to the log server. So you do this. They do this. You know, we do this all the time with regular servers. But when it comes to aircraft, oh, sorry, we can't. We have to keep this hard drive on the thing that's gonna crash. What the fuck?
Well, think about this, because when you ask a flat earther how they should prove flat Earth, you have people like Riley and Ranty going out and doing observations of the land and of the sea, right? Trying to say, okay, this object's too far, it should be over the curve. This object's hidden by refraction, those kind of things. If you ask a baller how to prove the shape of the Earth, they go to the sky. See, they have to go to the sky because they're losing the
The whole
ground.
body of science, Nathan. The whole body of science.
They're losing the ground war. So they have to go to the sky. They have to say, well, how does the sun, moon, and stars work? What about satellites? Oh, look, I have a picture of the ISS crossing the moon, right? We know that they're losing the war on the ground. That's the key points. Keep it to the ground. We can show flatness on the ground with lasers, with cameras seeing things too far, with mirror reflections 18 miles away.
It's funny you say that, because it in some way, Tim kind of admitted that. He said it like 4 years ago. Oh, it was just one excuse. Now, 4 years later, you got 25 excuses. Like, yeah, bro, that's called working shit out. We didn't grow up learning that the Earth is flat and learning about all this shit. We're trying to figure it out. So go ahead.
Hey, do you guys remember when we was talking about the Isle of Man? You can't forget, surely.
Obviously, can't forget that.
The Isle of what?
The Isle of Man, Nathan. Our favourite topic. Do you remember Tony was saying, if you can see Ramsey and all that? And they were always saying, how come we can't see Ramsey? Do you remember?
Who's Tony?
Sleeping Warrior.
I'm just joking. I'm messing
Shut
with you.
up.
Yes, of course I remember. Where's Ramsey? Where's Ramsey? Yes, I remember.
Oh god. Well,
The smokestacks. Tough the trees.
I've actually still got that composite. And do you remember they was always saying, here we go, over on this point, and we were pointing out to them over and over and over again this curve back on this mountain. Yeah. And we were saying, this is where Ramsey should be. Ramsey should be in this location, but we've got this curve back here where the inferior mirage starts, and obviously it's hidden behind Ramsey. And they were adamant we were off our rocker back then. Do you remember saying, "Don't be ridiculous. The inferior mirage don't hide anything. That's a curvature."
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
I think I see where you're going. So Rumpus has just conceded that the inferior mirage can hide things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Carry on, Ranty. Unless I have just stolen your thunder, haven't I?
You have, but it is fine. It's absolutely fine, because way back when we were outnumbered by the Globies, and we were putting forth this argument, and they eventually boycotted the debates over this Isle of Man stuff. And their argument was that Ramsey should be visible in the footage and in the composite, and it never was. And our argument was, well, there's an inferior mirage running through the whole image, and in that inferior mirage is where Ramsey is here. And now we have a stunning admission from the Globies, obviously, because it's undeniable now, that the inferior mirage does block off the bottom of distant objects, buildings, land masses, you name it. So we were always correct in our assertion that that could be a valid cause as to where Ramsey was. Ramsey was behind the inferior mirage, and as somebody was just on the panel before saying, Rumpus also mentioned it earlier on, and Brenda Van Ossen yesterday agreed with Rumpus that it's not the only cause. So she essentially agrees with him again that she's now on board with the inferior mirage hiding stuff too. So it's a big turning point for Flat Earth. Massive turning point.
Ranty, did you see my video where Rumpus confirms that?
I did.
Just refraction alone, not even perspective or angle of attack and all those things, can hide or shrink a building by up to 80%.
I did. It was a great catch. At this point here, sorry, so I know I'm sort of like diversifying. It was a great video, by the way, and I like the bit at the end where you keep him repeating the same thing. And you play it to music. But,
yeah, I wrote that in like 10 minutes, so it's not very good, but
well, this is the really flat land on the north part of the Isle of Man here, and we have a little lighthouse just down. It's roughly in this sort of area, But look where the inferior mirage is here. This inferior mirage that double backs on itself, and if you imagine that this inferior mirage, we know it runs through the whole image, that's where the blockage is. It's hiding stuff, It's just dead easy. I mean, this is the video I did yesterday, and somebody's just put all these list of obstruction reasons, and well, it's true. Most of them are true.
This is from Tim. I was talking about this on the show. So someone's gone to Tim's and gone. Here we go. All the things they call curvature. Let me just get this on screen so that the audience can see it. Hold on. There we go. Beautiful. Can you read them?
Right. Okay. So a list of Flirth explanations for things disappearing bottom first. 1. Perspective. Angle of attack. Optical slant. Aries diffraction. Zone of invisibility. Circle of confusion. Aether band. Dirty air. Compression. Apparent vertical contraction. Stooping. Wow. I've not heard of that one, by the way, but I've heard of compression. Sinking, convergence, melting, merging, blending, they just do, tidal bores, foreshortening, waves, water swells, atmospheric lensing, bendy light, angular resolution, collimation, diffraction limit, non-uniform density transition zone, curvilinear perspective, curved eyeball, 3D model plane clipping, rotational foreshortening, perspective compression of the device lens or zoom, diminishing properties, personal atmospheric domes, horizons, mirroring, water ramps, cone vision, opaque moisture deck, crowded light rays, Bessel functions, fake waves, f-stop aperture, atmospheric blocking, inferior mirage, atmospheric eclipsing, fractal looming, barotropic tides, and riptides.
Otherwise known as all of the things that get called Earth curve, because it doesn't matter which one is on that list. If you look into it, obviously there's some farcical ones, but the realistic ones, top of the list, perspective. Yeah, you look into perspective and you'll find that it can cause things to disappear with distance. Something gets too small to see, you won't be able to see it anymore. Definitely a cause of things disappearing in the distance. What's it going to be called when that happens if you're a globehead? Oh, well, it's going to be called Earth curve. What about angle of attack? Yeah, foreshortening, same thing. As you lower your angle, you will have a more limited view across the deck. Foreshortening. Yeah, you can cause things to disappear from bottom up. by simply limiting your angle by lowering your position. And that will cause things to disappear. But what will that get called? Oh, well, that'll get called Earth curvature as well. Without question. In fact, it doesn't matter which one you pick on this list. Atmospheric conditions are abundant in that list. What will they get called? Anyone on the panel?
Curve.
Curve, of course. Because there's only one claim they can ever make. Things only disappear in the distance because of Earth curve. It's the only reason. All these reasons, yeah, it doesn't matter how valid they are. They'll get called Earth curve too.
But what's interesting
would that make Rumpus a fluffer? Because didn't he use the f-stop and the refraction as excuses? I thought these were just fluffer excuses.
Correct. There are plenty of globe head reasons for why things disappear that are also ignored from the calculation, that have been disclaimed by people like Rumpus. It's interesting, isn't it, if you're watching this, Rumpus, that you would be on this list of reasons with f-stop. Yeah, we all know that's your claim. We always called it the aperture, the diffraction limit Rayleigh criterion based on the size of aperture. F-stop, well, you can call it that if you like, but that's you that's used that term, Rumpus. So it's interesting that a cause of things disappearing, claimed by a globehead, has made it on this list of reasons. Well, let's call it what it is. The things that get called Earth curve.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of these things do have validity to them, but a lot could also be bunched together in the same sort of thing. So you've got riptides, barotropic tides, and waves. Well, they're all essentially water blockage, but what's causing them? You know, yeah, exactly. And they do happen. They all have validity to them.
Yeah, same. Angle of attack and foreshortening, essentially the same thing.
But here's the thing. This is the point. This is the image that Rumpus and Brenda von Assen were forced to concede. And they didn't argue it. They said, well, we're in complete agreement with you here that what you're showing here is being caused by atmospheric blockage of the inferior mirage and not Earth curvature. They both agreed, and they said it numerous times that this is the case, that this landmass is here is hidden behind an inferior mirage, and it's not due to Earth curvature. That there and then is a perfect example of when we were looking at the Isle of Man stuff over here, and we've got the same inferior mirage going off, and we can't see anything there. We've just got repeated sky, but that's so low. I think it was a matter of meters, maybe 5 meters high, this area. So it's no reason, you know, it's understandable we wouldn't see it because it's so small. And then when we go over here, where's Ramsey? Well, Ramsey should be here, but look at this massive inferior mirage here. Ramsey's behind it. It's logical sense. It's just using logic and reason to optics. It's not all accounted for by Earth curve because there is no Earth curve.
What's that you say? Another cause that a globehead has claimed that isn't Earth curve? Oh, that's very bad news, globeheads. You need to learn your rhetoric better. It can only be Earth curve. It's the only reason things disappear in your narrative. Not performing viewing functionality, pure geometry, only ever Earth curve. Yeah? So the diffraction limit, no, Earth curve. Angle of attack or foreshortening, no, Earth curve. Tidal bores, no, that's Earth curve. Yeah, it's only one. You can only assert one thing, like Tim Osman tells you. Yeah? All these other things that can cause things to disappear, just ignore them and call them Earth curve. Understand your religion.
And here we have a professor, this is his email, admitting that internal tides can increase the vertical height or do increase the vertical displacement of the tides by, okay, he's admitting a few centimeters. That is massive. That is massive, flat Earth terms, because up till now, they've only had curvature due to the shape of the Earth. This is showing that tides do force localized bulging. And this is a professor that's speaking this. And it's his assertion, it's a few centimeters. I'm sure I'll probably be able to ask a few others and maybe get citations where it's more than that. But who knows?
No, you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about the few centimeters. Just always remember the swindle of the curve calculator. The swindle of the curve calculator is to use actual sizes. So a 2 centimeter bulge is a 2 centimeter bulge if it's 2 centimeters above the midpoint of your camera and you are right in front of it and it's taking up 50% of the frame. It's also 2 centimeters if it's 50 million miles away. So I would say a better representation to these bulge obstructions is the angular size, the amount of the frame they take up, Because obviously if it's bigger than the thing in the background, then you're going to lose the thing in the background. Because the angular size of the thing in the foreground, its apparent size, is bigger than the thing in the background. Now that's a perspective detailed effect. But they ignore that. They won't account for this 2 centimetre bulge, as disclosed by this professor, as a angular relationship, because that's what they're using to hijack and then call curvature. That's the point. Always actual sizes, never the apparent size. Apparent because that's what you see. It looks big, but it's just right in front of you. It's disappeared completely, but it's just far away. Apparent size. What they call, let me think, Earth curve.
Guys, can I just do one last presentation? I just want to ask you guys a question. Does anybody know what the geometric drop is over a 3-mile distance?
No, just tell us.
6 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a little thought, well, not even a thought experiment. I'm literally, but all I'm going to do now is just put point A, point B, right? So this is a 6-foot human at point B, right? So he's 3 miles away, this human. And we've got an eyeball on the ground here. So you've literally laid down on the floor and you've got your eyeball on the floor and you're looking across a flat plane at this human 3 miles away, right? Do you know what the angular size of the human is? You've got your eyeball down here, right on the floor. You've got a really flat plane. The government have made a flat area of 3 miles, right? Your eyeball's on the floor and you're trying to look at this human 3 miles away. Do you know what the angular size is of that human at 3 miles?
I'm going to have a guess just because.
Go on.
Is it less than 0.02?
I'll tell you exactly what it is and I'm going to write it right down now. This is the angular size of it. 0.02.
Oh, a shock! I wonder how I knew that.
And that is a God's honest truth. You can check the facts yourself.
So
you put your eyeball on the floor.
I'm going to hijack your point again if I'm not careful. I'll let you carry on. Sorry, I was just about to steal your thunder because I've twigged to what you're doing. Sorry.
So if you put your eyeball on the floor and you look at the government has laid a perfectly straight 3-mile landmass out in front of you, and the general's at the other side and he happens to be 6 feet tall, and you're trying to look at him, well, guess what? You can't see him because the angular resolution of your eyeball won't allow you to see it because he is too small to be seen. He is at 0.02 degrees, so he is invisible to you. Coincidentally, that happens to be the curvature calculator for the shape of the Earth, the geometric drop, which happens to be 6 feet. So from this point here down to this point here, 3 miles away, the curvature of the Earth has actually dropped by 6 feet. What a coincidence.
So what's actually happened is you can calculate in Muppet Vision side view like Ranty's drawn the angular size that this man will disappear from view because he's too small to see. What they have done in the curve calculator is ignored the angular size and they simply bend the ground. So you remove that line that's obviously producing an angle from target on the left, from observer on the left to target on the right, produces an angle to this target. Obviously his view is actually expansive far beyond that, but ultimately the target that you're talking about measuring has an angle of view. Now we're counting this bottom line as the bottom section of the angle, but apart from that, when they claim whether or not you can see it, they will simply draw a straight line. So I don't know if you can, Ranty, just get rid of your angled line and then draw a straight line from the top of the observer to the target. Doesn't matter that it's slightly slanted, just draw a straight line.
Straight line like that.
That's perfect. Now curve, if you can, curve the ground beneath your feet so it intersects him.
Alright, okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of jiggery pokery.
That'll do. So now instead of having an angle that says whether or not we can see him based on his angular size, his apparent size, it's now just earth curve, geometric earth curve blocking the view of the guy. That's what will be asserted because they've only got one claim, remember. It can only be earth curve that this guy's disappeared to. And what do you know? The measurements say it's earth curve that's blocking your view of the guy rather than the guy being too small to see. Because that's all earth curve is. It's just perspective. Called earth curve. But yeah, so to summarise, This guy, as Ranty describes, in Muppet Vision is 6 foot. He's 6 foot when he stood here. He's 6 foot when he stood here. He's 6 foot when he stood here. Whereas his angular size when he stood here is enormous. And when he's far away, his angular size is very small. So his apparent size is massively variable based on his distance. But they're not going to account for that. They'll draw a single line between you and the target and then say that that single line, not angle, is intersected by a curved earth geometrically. Nothing to do with visuals. It's not performing visual functions. It's geometric. Well, they say the geometric curve is the reason this 6 foot dude has gone, when in reality his angular size has become too small to see. That's it. That's how the calculator swindles you. Well done, Ranty. Excellent.
Wait, so you guys are saying I can't see a fly at 20 miles away, even though the calculator tells me I should be able to?
That's correct. But if the fly was right on your lens, it could potentially block a building in the distance.
Yeah, it could, right?
Yeah, amazing. That perspective would mean that a fly that's absolutely tiny could actually obscure a building that's huge numbers in feet and inches. Yeah, but unfortunately the angular size of that building the fly is blocking is considerably smaller than the fly itself. The angular size, the apparent size, the size you see, the sizes that will be in the pictures that are compared to this geometric calculator that doesn't perform viewing functionality. It simply hijacks perspective and calls the effects of perspective Earth curve by using whole numbers.
I was doing that yesterday as I was walking to get food. I saw a power line, and I would turn around and look at the power line as I'm walking. I kept walking, and I could see a faint line. And eventually, after a few blocks, I looked back. There was no line. It was gone. It was just you could only see the two towers, the power towers, but you couldn't see the cable. And it was just perfect.
Yep, the diffraction limit is real. And with that, I will say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream. Hopefully for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing if you've not done so already, and all that good stuff. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making today's after show possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!